Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a challenge that I think we all face, that never-ending list of skills you've always wanted to learn, but you've just never gotten around to starting. We're going to break down Josh Kaufman's amazing method from the first 20 hours, a technique that says you can get surprisingly good at pretty much anything, and you can do it fast.
Does this sound familiar? You've got this list, right? Maybe it's learning an instrument, picking up a new language, maybe even a really complex game like Go. For most of us, that list just seems to get longer and longer, and we never actually check anything off.
So, what is the one big thing that stops us from finally picking up that guitar or learning a bit of Spanish? Well, it's usually not a lack of time. It's actually a single, really intimidating myth that we've all kind of bought into.
Yep, you know the one, the 10,000-hour rule. It was made famous by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's this idea that to get truly great at something, it takes about 10,000 hours of practice. Think about that. That's a full-time job for 5 years straight. Who has time for that?
Okay, but here's the good news. This is where we've all misunderstood the rule. The research behind it was looking at world-class elite-level performers. Think grandmaster chess players and concert violinists. For the rest of us, the goal isn't to be the absolute best in the world. It's just to get good enough to have some fun. And for that, the time you need is, well, it's way, way less.
And this is the core of Kaufman's whole idea. It's about reframing your goal completely. So forget about becoming a world-class expert. The real goal, the first goal, is just to get past what he calls the frustration barrier. You know, that part at the very beginning where you're clumsy, you feel stupid, and most of us just give up.
This brings us to the really exciting part of his book. Instead of dreading that frustrating beginning, Kaufman says we should actually lean into it, because those first few hours are where all the magic really happens.
So it turns out this is backed by science. There's this cool concept in psychology called the power law of practice. And what it says is that when you're learning something totally new, your improvement is absolutely explosive right at the start. You make these huge leaps in your ability, and that creates this awesome feedback loop that just makes you want to keep going.
You know, this completely flips that old saying on its head. We always talk about a steep learning curve, like it's a bad thing, right? Something to be afraid of, but it's not. It's a great thing. A steep curve means you are learning incredibly fast. The steeper it is, the quicker you're getting better.
So Kaufman's big claim is this: 20 hours. 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice is all it takes to go from knowing literally nothing about a skill to being, well, surprisingly good at it. If you break that down, it's only about 45 minutes a day for a month. That sounds totally doable, right?
Okay, so 20 hours is the magic number. But how do you make sure those 20 hours are actually effective? Because it's not just about putting in the time. It's about having a smart, structured way to practice.
Kaufman lays out this really simple but super powerful 4-step process. It's all designed to get you the most bang for your buck out of every minute you practice. Let's walk through it.
So here's the gist. First, you pick something you're actually excited about. Then, and this is key, you break that skill down into the tiniest little pieces. Next, you get rid of anything that could distract you. And finally, you just commit to putting in those 20 hours.
Now, to see how this really works, let's look at how Kaufman actually used it himself. He really put his money where his mouth is, using this exact method to learn everything from yoga and coding to playing the ukulele.
Okay, so when he decided to learn yoga, he was really put off at first. He talks about all the language around auras and chakras and this whole spiritual side that, to him, kind of felt like he was joining some weird cult.
And this is a perfect example of deconstruction. He just ignored all the complex philosophy. He stripped yoga down to its most basic physical parts and decided, I'm just going to learn a few key poses, like downward facing dog and warrior one. That's it. That was his way in.
His reason for learning how to program? It came from this really annoying, very real problem. Every single time his website started to get popular, it would crash and just show this dreaded error message. So frustrating.
So he didn't set out to learn all of computer science. No way. He deconstructed the skill. His goal wasn't some vague thing like learn to code. It was super specific. Fix my website. So he learned just enough of one language, Ruby, and a simple framework to solve that one problem. He only focused on exactly what he needed. You know, a lot of skills we want to learn, like the ancient game of Go, they can seem just impossibly complex. Kaufman points out that there are actually more possible moves in a game of Go than there are atoms in the known universe. That's just mind-boggling.
But here's the secret. Every single skill, it doesn't matter how complex it looks, can be broken down. Think about learning the ukulele. It's not about mastering the whole instrument at once. It's about learning just 3 or 4 chords. And with just those 4 chords, you can literally play hundreds of songs.
So, the big question is, how can you take all this and apply it to your own life? Well, it all comes down to changing how you think about the challenge of learning something new.
Kaufman brings up the philosopher Karl Popper, who basically said that the secret to a happy, productive life is to find a lovable problem, and that right there is the heart of step 1. This is probably the most important shift in thinking. You have to stop seeing a new skill as this massive 10,000-hour mountain you have to climb. Instead, start seeing it as your first 20-hour lovable project. You're not forcing yourself to do a chore. You're letting yourself explore something fun for just 45 minutes a day.
You see, the biggest barrier to learning something new, it's not our brains, it's our emotions. It's that fear of looking stupid, of not being good enough. But with just 20 hours, you can push right past that fear and get to the fun part. So I guess the only question left is, what will you choose for your first lovable project?